All right, welcome back to Inside Visitor Management. Very excited today to have Keith Metcalfe join me again from Traction Guest. Keith, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Lee.
Wonderful. So I know that there's some news, some new features, some services. So why don't we jump into it? Why don't you tell everybody what you got brewing?
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Actually, we're actually not calling it features or services. We're actually developing a solution, and the solution sort of centers on the why of the world for people trying to get others back to work. And it's been a real struggle for them. So we spent a lot of time taking a look at the capabilities we have and say, can we create a better solution for those people who are struggling with this new challenge that many of them have never faced in their career in getting people back into the offices in many cases.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. I've been saying lately, this is all new for everybody. So taking old use cases and old ways and try to apply them, I think is going to be tough. So I like the fact that you're taking in information, adjusting, and then what I like to is the communication of those and packaging them up. So can you give a little bit about what are some of those solutions and what are some of the value add that you're bringing to the marketplace?
Yeah, so first off, we noticed a huge need emerging early a couple months ago around people really being equipped to get these enterprise sort of situations handled where frontline workers could have some ability to get employees back in as well as visitors. So there's a big divergence there of not just being a visitor-centric solution, but also an employee one. And we actually did a study. We engaged a third party to go out and talk to a lot of enterprise companies. And they just completed that recently because we had been doing our own annual survey pre-COVID, but post-COVID, we had no data to go on. And not surprisingly, it is a stressful time for these people trying to get people in and out of the workplace. They feel a huge amount of responsibility. And that responsibility has been backed up in the numbers. Around 84% of these people are really worried about going back into the office, but they also feel that fundamental need to connect. So you have these two pressures pushing against each other. And we're really excited to announce what we're going to announce right now around Frontline so that it helps those people deal with those two pressures.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is massively interesting to me because historically, you look at the use cases again, it was about, making people feel safe by keeping people out that had guns. And then also, doing like just some basic, maybe compliance type stuff and NDA capturing and cool factor to now this sort of trust relationship that needs to be developed, and also underneath a pressure cooker, if you would, of people having to make these decisions because they need these systems to go back to work. So I guess this is a great example of a resource and a tool they can come to take a look at to maybe make them feel a little bit better with the decisions and the selections that they make that are sort of these tools are built with that use case specifically in mind.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for the people who are now in physical security, EHS, facility, reception, workplace, whatever the name or title, they have a new responsibility or duty of care that they have never really faced in a lot of cases before. Now they may have, but some of these roles haven't at all. And even if they have faced them before, it's an increased amount of pressure. And that pressure isn't about keeping bad people out. It's about keeping good people in safely as well as bad people out. So I think it's really encouraging for a lot of them to see this dynamic play out. However, it's also really stressful. So what we did is we really looked at that survey as well as we looked at our capabilities. And you mentioned earlier on features and functions. And we said, can we actually put a solution together? Not more features and functions and throw them at people, but a solution that helps them take on these new responsibilities.
Yeah, and based off of care, which is this is not about control anymore. This is about care. So I love all of that. Yeah. So one thing that pops out too, this is you said there's 84% of people are worried about it. I'm curious the 16% that are sort of either aloof to it or super confident of what they're doing. But that's interesting to understand what that is. And unfortunately, I think we'll be in this sort of 80 plus percent for quite a while until people start to feel the new normal to what's going on. So it's good to hear that you have these types of services and solutions. If people are looking for more information on where to find out more about it, where's the best place for them to go?
They can go to our website. We have chat, 1-800 number. We're in a couple of different regions, Europe, US, Canada. Reach out to us, let us know, and then we can get into some of the specific details around what we're doing. And I should probably mention that really quick before we sign off on this, Lee. With the Frontline solution, high level, they're going to be able to do a completely touchless solution. So I've been talking to you about the idea of people moving to an invite-first culture. we are seeing that. This week alone, we've seen our platform exceed usage pre-COVID already. So we track that pretty carefully. And a lot of it has to do in the pre-registration function, right? Where we're actually seeing people really adopt this whole concept of an invite-first culture. This mobile app that will be available on Android and iOS will allow the frontline worker to be able to actually scan those people in through plexiglass, whatever kind of environment they face, without needing a kiosk, which is absolutely sort of fundamentally different than anything we've done before. So instead of people having to go touch something, which they can with us, we have zero touch, but now the frontline worker can use a whole bunch of different scenarios where they can actually scan people, they can check them in on the spot, they can actually notify employees that they're there, make sure that they've passed, as well as educate them on PPE for the location, and do expedited group check-ins. So this is another big thing that's become a challenge, is the ability to get a group of people in, allow them to socially distance in whatever the location looks like, as well as manage things like deliveries, which is another big piece for us. It's just a functionality for us. It's not a solution, but we are allowing people to now do delivery notification, roll call and evacuation watch lists. So if you have an incident, to be able to get people out, as well as being able to do some more sophisticated contact tracing, which is also a big topic right now. So those are just some of the high level things all wrapped up into this frontline solution to really enable people at the front to be able to deal with these different scenarios.
Yeah, I guess, and not to state the obvious, but frontline being people working at the reception desk, the check-in, whatever it might be. That's what you mean by frontline on that end. So just want to clarify that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think the interesting thing on that is it's not what you would think typically. Historically, a lot of times we see, the frontline being the definition of somebody greeting somebody at the front. That's not the case anymore. We have scenarios where people actually want to take the app and walk through socially distanced queues so they can actually check people in that way, as well as a whole bunch of different scenarios that we've never seen before. So literally, it's just for the people dealing with the frontline pressures is probably the better way of thinking of it. And that's why we named it the way we did.
No, it totally makes sense. And I mean, my own experience, went to a meeting for the first time and walked in to the lobby, and it was, historically you walk to the lobby, you walk up to the front, you talk to somebody, they notify somebody and you go. This, I mean, the second you you walk to the door and there's total somewhat chaos mentally, and you can see the pressures too with just dealing with a person. So actually being able to communicate with them and moving that front line, I guess, if you would, extending it beyond the actual, what used to be the front line.
Yeah.
You can see how that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, we've been working with that vision of beyond the lobby. You'll see it on our website and whatnot for a long time. And that vision connects to this really well as well.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's very rare in time you see where sort of the fabric of how things have been working for a while are being reshaped as we go. So excited to see that you all are on the front end of really driving a lot of that. So very exciting. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Is there any other aspects of the front line that you'd want to cover before we sign off?
I think we got it, Lee. I think it's been a good conversation. Just reach out and let us talk to whoever we can. And we're in this business to help. So we're doing a number of initiatives around that. We announced that we're helping with long-term care homes right now around granting. So if there's situations where people are struggling with that, they don't have budgets and they're trying to protect people in these facilities, let us know. It's on our website. Technology should really help people and enable them to create a safer environment. And that's inspiring to us. So if we can help people along that journey, please let us know.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm just going to make a comment on that too, because that's sometimes the definition of care. A lot of times our industry wants to do it just based off of technology, but sometimes it's just the approaches of how we do it as well. So whether it's this for the corporation, the senior living, senior housing that you talked about, safer schools, whatever it might be, it's also the business approach, which you've done there, and you've led on that versus waiting to respond. So kudos to you all for doing it and being proactive to do that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no worries. We have a good team, so they had a lot of these ideas, so I have to pass that credit to them.
See, good leader. I like that. All right, Keith. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. It's always great to catch up with you.
You too.
Thanks.